Yes,
I want their chance for them to speak.
You guys available to do the?
Yeah.
Let me grab my.
Where's, you gave me, didn't you?
I did.
What did I do? Like, you time for the administration. There you go. Got it. Okay, it's 10 o'clock. We'll call the Sawyer County Administration Committee meeting to order, please. Madam Clerk, you have a roll call.
Tweet Chillman,
Here.
Ron Buckles.
Here.
Dale Schleter. Tom Duffy.
Here.
Ron Kinsley.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let the record indicate we have a quorum. Who's online? Mike?
Nobody.
Nobody online. Okay, please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Madam Clerk, certification of compliance with open meetings law, please.
This meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Meeting agenda has been presented. Okay, we'll move on then to public comment. I have one person signed up for public comment. Miss Linda Zelmer, please step up to the mic. State your name and address, please.
Linda Zilmer, Edgewater taxpayer, residing at 902 Holland Hill Lane in Birchwood. I have a request, it's on the administrative side, but it's to facilitate the budget public hearing. On the administrator's web pages, there's a section where previous audits are to be posted, and then there's also another section where previous and current budgets are to be posted. So I'd like to make a request that this week that the 2022 budget presentation and 2022 budget speech by GL account be posted. The 2023 budget public hearing notice is on there already, but if the GL detail could then also be posted. And then I also have a question as to how will this year's budget public hearing be presented? So for the public who not participated in the committee meetings or maybe last month's board meeting, will there be a presentation similar to what finance saw so that the public can see what the budget is and then will be informed enough to make meaningful public comment? So if you can think about that between now and Thursday, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay, moving on then to approval of our meeting minutes, September 8th, 2022. Any concerns, edits? Mr. Kinsley? Okay.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kinsley, second by Mr. Buckholz to approve our meeting minutes as presented. Is there any further discussion? If not, all of in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, number 8, appointments, discussion, possible action. Several appointments here. And Andy, do you want to? I know one is you, but you can talk about it, sir.
The first one, those letters, NWREF, REDF stands for Northwest Regional Economic Development Fund. That's many counties up in this part of the state had revolving loan funds for businesses. Probably like 10 years ago, they were consolidated into a regional fund. Most of the counties did that, not all. Sawyer County's been a part of it since then. I believe the person, Todd Knudsen from Johnson Bank, retired earlier this year, and he was
Correct.
the representative. And I guess a conversation between Northwest Regional Planning and Tweed. My name came up because I've served on the board since I was part of the regionalization and served on that board since then. So I would.
That's what they had told us. And
Yeah.
Mr. Kinsley was at the meeting as well with myself. And we both recommend, Andy, if you're willing to, that you serve on that board for Sawyer County.
Yeah, I don't say it's an easy, but all the meetings are done remotely, and once a month, so I know the program, so
Good.
yeah. we do that.
Okay, can we approve these two in one swoop or you want to do them separate?
Let's do separate.
Separate, okay.
So,
So then I would entertain a motion that we're approving Mr. Andy Alvarado as our Northwest Regional Planning Economic Development Board Member for Sawyer County.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Buckholz, second by Mr. Duffy, approving that and moving it on to the full county board for approval. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Lynn, we'll add that under board appointments. Number two, Ethics Committee.
So that's just kind of the final piece to the ethics policy adoption last month is to make sure we have an ethics committee. Mr. Duffy, Mr. Betcher, and Mr. Schuman were all appointed as far as the board organization process. Shirley Armstrong and Marv Mullet were past members of the ethics committee, but we didn't find where they had been recently appointed.
True.
So just.
So this is reappointing these two community public members to the Ethics Committee, correct?
Correct.
And have you reached out to these two folks?
Yep.
They're willing to do so? Okay. All right, so then I would entertain a motion to approve appointing the public members Shirley Armstrong and Marvin Mullet to the Ethics Committee for another, what is it, a 3-year term or is it a?
At the first meeting, the new ethics policy has staggered terms,
Okay,
so we'll stagger the terms once we have to.
with the stagger term. Motion by Mr. Kinsley.
Mr. Speeder wants something, that's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't make the motion.
So you can make the motion, Mr. Schleter. I'm sorry. Okay, motion by Mr. Schleter approving, second by Mr. Kinsley. Approving the Ethics Committee appointments of Shirley Armstrong and Marvin Mullet as public members of the Ethics Committee. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Lynn, that again will add to our county board. Number 9, advisory referendum prohibiting outside funding. Okay, this is coming back to us. Andy, do you have more on this?
Yeah, I do not have anything else.
Lynn, did you communicate with John?
Yes, I did, and but we
Oh, no,
did,
that's okay.
we took out some of the language referring to the clerk's responsibilities or the, what sounded to many like being an accusatory form of the language of what they felt clerks had been doing in past elections. So that was removed. We looked at some of the resolutions that went forward to other boards and used some of their recommendations. So it didn't add anything,
Okay.
just removed.
All right, so it's got declined at full county board to discuss it, correct? When it came to us initially. Then it came back to us here a month ago and we asked that it be revised or brought back to the makers of the resolution. So they made some amendments. Pleasure of the board.
Is this something that we need?
I don't see any harm in it at all.
But is that something we need?
Well, it could be still, the board could still accept donations.
Yeah, this is I believe it's still structured, it's an advisory referendum.
Advisory. referendum.
Right, it's mainly a
Doesn't-
message of consensus across parts of the state.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
How many advisory referendums do we pass and put in place?
I don't know which ones you've done. The ones that have circulated the last few years have been on your district, not, I would call it, what was the one about fair districts?
For maps,
Fair maps, thank you. Fair maps was one. There was one on marijuana not too long ago. These, I think, the ballot initiatives. So it's something that gives the voters the option to weigh in on them. Whatever matter that comes is brought forward, but they're not binding and they're. just,
Right.
Any other counties have approved these?
oh, yes.
How many?
Well, not all send them forward to everybody else. I've received about 5 from other counties. But not everyone sends across the state.
What I've seen is some did the referendum on this matter, some adopted a resolution saying they opposed. Outside money.
And just that simple statement, they oppose outside money.
Well, Andy, you recommend we approve them?
This is a policy issue, I'm not recommending.
I'll make a motion to approve and move it to the full board. John
Yeah.
is the one that one that's in here, and that way he can speak at the full board too.
Motion by Mr. Kinsley to approve and move on to the full county board. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Schleter. Okay, is there any further discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, I'll ask for a roll call vote because I know it will be unanimous.
Hey, Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Ms. Oh, I'm sorry, I gotta get to the right one again. Wrong one, it flipped on me. We have too many meetings, here we go, okay. We got Mr. Duffy, Mr. Kinsley,
Yes.
Mr. Fleeter. Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Buckles,
Yes.
Mr. Schuman.
No. Okay, motion carries 4-1. Okay, then we'll move that to the full county board for discussion, possible action. All right, number 10. Meridia electronic voting system.
Yes. Came from the Wisconsin Counties Association meeting when the clerks met. There's several different voting systems out there on the market today where it assists in not only in-person voting, but virtual voting. So this one is the cheapest. It is the easiest. It is non-technical. It's like a little garage door opener with a green button that you vote yes, and a red button that takes your or collects your no vote. And a lot of clerks just went home and ordered them right away. It's $1,500 to $1,600 for the full board and then some extras. And what that does then is allow us to take votes. Roll call votes will be non-existent anymore because it'd still be anonymous. They click and all the results come into one spreadsheet at my desk. And then that spreadsheet can be shared up to the screen to the public. So this is my plan to move forward, but we'd just like you to know what's coming up. It's very easy. Anyone on Zoom, a lot of what we did find out though, which was interesting, is that some counties do not let people who are, or board members who are attending virtually even vote. So that was an eye opener, whereas we do. So when it comes to a virtual vote, I just have to wait for those folks at the end and collect their votes at the last over Zoom, and then I push their button.
So this is just for county.
Just for county, yep. And then, of course, zoning could borrow it if they wanted to. We could go
Oh, sure.
throughout the courthouse for any meeting,
For committee meetings,
for committee meetings.
county board and committee.
Yep.
This has been talked about years ago, having it, and a lot of communities have it. It's a good thing.
It is. It's safe, it's inexpensive. It allows you to remain anonymous in your vote until it's collected, so. And we're very inexpensive.
Mike, you want to comment on this?
I don't think I have much to say. I think, as long as I was gonna just mention as long as there's some way for remote members to vote. It'll be a manual
Yeah, that is
process.
important.
Yes.
We have enough that are attending by Zoom.
But it looks like it only works when you're in the room.
Yep.
And if you're all okay with that, I have no qualms. And if Lynn
It's not
has,
connected to any system.
Lynn has the manual workaround for remote, we'll make it work.
Mike, is there any budget impact with adding this?
How much is it?
It's less than $1,600. And it would come out of my election.
Well, that should be fine.
Andy?
No, it's fine.
We
So
need a
you-
motion?
It sounds like it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
The Meridia electronic voting system.
Yep.
For a second by Mr. Duffy. Okay, thank you, Lynn. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Schlender, I appreciate you coming to our meeting. I'll get to you in a moment, okay?
Take your time.
Are you here for, you probably want to do public comment, maybe?
I'm here to participate as however I can.
Okay. All right.
Brings back old memories.
Well, welcome, sir. Welcome. Okay, number 11.
What that third courtroom you guys want to talk about?
Veteran Service Department report. Gary,
Hi, good morning.
good morning.
So September, we had 504 phone calls, 445 faxes, and 114 office visits. To the end of September, I've submitted 84 disability pension claims and received retroactive payment of over $500,000 for claims decided in the veterans' favor, which exceeds what I did last year in September as far as initial payout. So I've been busy. Fall conference, I'm gonna go to a fall conference next week, Monday through, I'll get back Friday evening. We normally do a spring conference and a fall conference. Normally if I go to one, I've made the training requirements to keep my accreditations nationally for the year. But because of the changes in the law with the PACT Act, I want to go back down and see what the VA has to say. Right now, they don't have a lot. They don't know a lot. The Congress basically set the law. Now it's up to the VA organization to meet those requirements of the law. How they do that is up to the VA. So now the VA is sitting there trying to figure out how they're gonna, I guess, answer the mail on that. The other thing that's going on that I would like to hear more of, and nobody can put their can tell me what's going to happen, is the federal law. The judge went back, said you can go back for those people that were living in Camp Lejeune during certain dates, over 30 days, can file a claim against the government. So the question comes up, so how does that affect the VA benefits? Because precedent has been set in the past, if you file a claim against the government and the government pays out, you're one and done. You don't get to double dip. And that could negatively affect our veterans if, because it looks like a really sweet deal on TV. Come to us and we'll get you money. But the fact of the matter is, if I was in Camp Lejeune over 30 days and I got whatever cancer that's presumptive for that, the government might come back and pay me $30,000 for my illness. The problem is, as a veteran who served there honorably and was discharged, that has the ability, that meets the eligibility requirements to file a claim with the VA for that illness, if they live, over so much time, they'll far exceed that $30,000. And so they cannot file a claim against the VA if they're going to go off precedents of the past. They will not be able to do that, but nobody can tell me if they can or cannot. But not only that, when it comes to health care. So now I've got an individual that has liver cancer from Camp Lejeune, and they want the VA to treat them. Well, the federal government has paid them out. Is the federal government, the VA in this case, a wing of the government going to treat that person for that disease after they've paid out in this civil suit? So nobody at the federal government level has been able to answer that. They have still got to wash that out. So it is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I've had veterans come in and it's like, look, I can't tell you what's in this case as far as filing a claim or not filing a claim. I can tell you what's happened in the past, but I can't tell you what's going to happen based off this, because they don't even know. Right now, the only people that I would recommend filing a lawsuit against the federal government for an illness would be those individuals that the VA would not provide service to or provide compensation to. For the most part right now, if you were a dependent that lived in Camp Lejeune over 30 days and you get ill from that, the VA will provide health care for that issue to those individuals. And again, is that at risk? Yes or no? But if you see what I'm saying, it's a convoluted mess. And they come in for, asking for, what should I do? And it's like, I really can't tell you because nobody else can. So there's a second reason why I'm going to go down there. Other than that, I'm just inflicting pain on myself when I get back because I'll be buried. But anyway, so that's kind of what's going on in my world for as far as.
And we've got a second position posted for your department to share with the aging department, is that correct?
That is correct. So we'll see what traction we get out of that. Hopefully it works out. It's a test bed, you know?
Yeah.
It's a test bed. We've got other counties that have somewhat of a setup like that, but they're not accredited. I've asked for accreditation. They will, they need to be accredited. It doesn't mean I'm gonna give them the full fledged, force of filing plans for everything. I'm gonna limit what they do, to see if, one, they, so I don't overwhelm them, but hopefully it'll take some of the outside noise off and let me concentrate on the big things.
Andy,
Just wanted to add something from the finance main discussion regarding that. So like Gary said, I'll take the blame on this one as my proposal to share a position for ADRC and for veterans.
Yeah.
But we left the full money in for Gary's position, so it doesn't pick out. You can staff up another person there.
Sure. because it did come up. What do we do in his absence, right?
Right.
What
So
do
that's
veterans do?
expectation that it really just depend on the person, how capable they
Yeah.
are of working two departments and being able to learn
Yeah.
veteran service role when Gary's gone.
And they have to be a veteran to get in there.
No, no, not for, well, for the positions that's posted right now, no. Because it'll slide under like veterans benefit specialist. If it was a VSO, assistant VSO, then it would need to be a veteran. So whoever goes, yeah, it's gonna take at least 2 years to get somebody trained up to know that they're dangerous. Honestly, that's a God honest truth. And then from there, and unfortunately, I've had 2 employees that went up just to 2 years or whatever and moved on. And it's like, that's a crusher because it's a lot of time and effort trying to get them spun up to where they need to be.
Sure. And it's concerning to me because I don't know if we have a tribal ESO.
I don't know if you do either.
Jim, do you know that?
So,
We have one, but it's temporary and it's not. The Rusty's acting in that capacity right now, but he's not.
Right.
Yeah.
But there are veterans out there that need to be served and if the tribal person is not available and
yeah, well, I'll tell you right now, I've got a lot of veterans from the tribe. I've got a lot of veterans, from different counties coming to my office.
Yep.
That is not a problem. They put a uniform on, they served, I will help them.
Right.
It's always been that way.
Veterans will
So-
talk to veterans. So if you get a non-veteran person in there, you can have them.
That's what I was thinking.
that's a good point. Yep. All right, and you're making out okay in your new office there at Oasis?
I'm very busy.
Okay. People are finding you
I am
now.
not kidding. Nothing has slowed down
Sure,
due to one person being gone or the changes in law. Actually,
Good.
it's sped
that's
up.
what I wanted to
but-
hear.
Yeah.
Good. All right, anything else for Gary?
Thank you, bro.
Gentlemen, yeah,
Thank you, Gary.
appreciate you, Gary. Okay, moving on then to number 12, information technology report. Mike?
Morning. Just wanted to bring you up to date on a little bit Scoopy. Thought we had at the airport, after we installed our internet radio out there. Eric thought it was causing some interference with the pilot's communications and the weather channel. So, when I heard this, I took it very seriously. So Alex and I went out, we took down all of our equipment, everything that we put in place, retested it, and there's still some interference. I mean, I think it's just his base station radio that is a problem. So I told him that, and he says, well, okay, maybe I'll work with Kruk. And I said, yes, please do work with John Kruk and try to get this ironed out, and we'll help as much as we can. So we put our stuff back up, and he has got internet again. We're as convinced as we can be, it was none of our. So it's still a little bit of an issue, but okay.
Thank you for working with him with that.
Sure. The Oasis building with Gary and Human Services, I mean, we're still putting some equipment out there. We're waiting for Human Services to move out there, but we're helping Gary as much as we can. We put some AV equipment out there today so he could have a meeting for his veterans. So still kind of a slow process, but we're keeping out there. Yeah, I think, oh, there's a onboarding process with HR, Rose and Cindy. We're kind of working with a vendor that was actually purchased like at the beginning of COVID. Tom Hoff is here. We're kind of working in the last stages right now, but they had to kind of redesign it. Once it's up and running, it should help Rose and Cindy with records keeping for new applicants and making that onboarding process more streamlined. And just other boring geek stuff we do that probably doesn't, we need to talk about, but any questions we'll take.
What is Spillman?
That is the jail and sheriff department records management system. So everything to do with dispatch and jail and all operations, that's their record keeping.
Okay.
So we've been working on that. So all the squads need access to that. They can do license plate lookups right in the squad without asking dispatch to do the lookup for them. So there's actually some more work we're doing. There's going to be a complete overhaul or not an overhaul, upgrade November 10th. So we're working closely with the sheriff department and the vendor on that. And actually radio is coming into it. So there will be about a half a day of downtime next month for that.
Does Spillman include the tribe or conservation? I remember that came up at one time, Mike.
The tribe, PD, yes. Conservation, no. That was a decision by the sheriff not to include them.
So that was that conversation. Okay.
Yeah, with Henry out there.
Henry, yep.
So I didn't get involved in that, but we would have helped if the sheriff asked us to, but he said no. So that's where that stands.
Okay. Anything else for Mike? Dale?
Mike, is that interference and just isolating incident or more than, is it ongoing?
At the airport? Yeah, it seems to have started a couple of months ago. They have this, there's different radio channels and there's this weather channel that whenever a pilot calls in, the only thing they hear in the airport is the pilot and the weather channel garbled together. And whenever they key up a handheld, they also hear this weather channel. And they thought it was, since the timing, they thought it was us with our equipment. And again, I took it very seriously. So let's make sure that's not the problem. But so it's still a problem. And they can't hear radio. They have to tell pilots to repeat 2 or 3 times sometimes.
He did tell you that we replaced the base station last week.
Yeah, he replaced the base station, but it's still an issue.
Got a bad ground somewhere.
Something like that, yeah. Well, I'm not a radio guy, but I said, look, work with Clark. We'll help as much as we can. And he says, well, I'm going to have the FAA guys come out again and see if they can help. So it's kind of in his court again. Derek's.
Okay. Anything else for Mike, guys?
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate it, sir. Okay, we'll move on then to number 13. Human Resources Report. Rose not here, right, Andy? But she gave us
Yep.
emailed us a report.
She did, and I have some additional information from her from what's in the report. So jail administrator, we did interviews for that. That was last week. But Mike Wohler, internal candidate, is now the jail administrator. We had really good pool of applicants to look at, internal and external. Ambulance emergency management director, we interviewed for that position starting at 12:30, I believe, is first interview today. And then let's see, we hired for deputy clerk of court, social services aide. Those interviews have happened. Deputy clerk treasurer interviews were this week, and they selected.
She accepted
She
today.
accepted today. Filled that position. Driver operator highway, we have an accepted offer there. And last night at Public Works, Gary mentioned that we are anticipating a retirement around the first of the year from the crew. And so we had a number of good applicants in this round of interviews for driver operators, so we're
Okay,
hoping to grab one of those people to fill the retirement in a couple months.
okay. Any of these people that interviewed for the jail administrator want to work in the jail?
I don't know if they want to, but we gave the sheriff direction. There was at least one of them at least
Oh, okay,
encouraged him to make an offer to it.
good. Any other comments? Mike, do you have any comments on HR at all? I'm sorry, Mike Margaret.
I do not know.
No?
Maybe just we'll extend the conversation and about health insurance for this committee, so.
Yeah,
on that,
I would like to.
We're at 2.5% right now on the health insurance increase, trying to get that down to 0. So we did have, like Mike mentioned last meeting, that we had discussion with our consultant or broker yesterday, trying to get that down. We did have some interesting, that's with renewal with our current provider, UMR County Mutual. We did have a couple other bidders in there that were one that was interesting, so. And then we also still have took a look at self-insurance. And at this point, we wouldn't recommend that, but that's something to go stay fully insured next year, but start laying the groundwork to be self-insured in 2024. Assuming that everything tracks as it has been, we can have good utilization, which means there's less
Yeah.
utilization. So if that keeps on tracking, there might be some more options for us, which would really help out the cost of health insurance for the employees and for the county.
Mike, can you expand on the health insurance premiums being moved outside of the levy limits or borrowing for that?
It's not health insurance, it's property and casualty.
Oh,
So it's a
okay.
much smaller amount.
Oh, all right. But you said it was like 250,000 though, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, so that would just take it out of the general fund, move it above the operating levy to free up a little money.
So that's an exemption, as is the court ordered placements.
Right.
So we're getting those numbers, so we were knowledgeable of how many court ordered placements we have. And then just the, other counties are looking at that as an option, should the budgets get tight enough to do that. And I think the way that sounds the most viable to me, Mike and I talked about this, is you look back. So you look at what your health and your property casualty insurance costs were this year.
Yep.
And then you have, the exemption is contingent upon you borrowing for it. So then maybe next year you borrow.
oh, I see.
To replace it. But it's on a short-term note, so you borrow it and you pay it back, so it's outside the levy.
Like capital improvements, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on human resource report? Okay, we got jail compensation and staffing update. The same thing you went over in finance,
Same
correct?
thing. I don't know if you want to do it again here. I think it's all.
Did you hear it, Mr. Buckle?
Yes, I did, Mr. Chairman. I'm gonna make a motion to approve the jail compensation and the staffing update. And
That was-
be passed on to the full county board.
That was discussed in finance, sir?
Yes.
And we discussed it in public.
And we
safety.
discussed it. at public
Okay,
safety.
motion by Mr. Buckholz, approved, second by Mr. Duffy. Approving the jail compensation and staffing update as discussed in public safety and finance.
Yep.
And moving on to the full county board. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, who was the second? on that?
Mr. Duffy,
Thank you.
opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Municode update, discussion and possible action, Andy?
Yeah, the difference, the Muni code that's attached is the same one as last month, but working with our corp counsel, working with Muni code, there is a different resolution that's accompanying that should be included. We had essentially the wrong wording in our resolution last month, so this.
So we're amending or adopting this new
Yeah,
Unicode ordinance?
Sending it back to the county board this month, which is what we discussed at last month's county board meeting, but with this resolution that's attached rather than the one that was with it last month.
Who's the court counsel used on this?
It's part of Andy Phillips's firm.
Atollas?
Yeah, told us.
Thank you.
It was Kylie that did this one.
Okay, pleasure of the board. Entertain a motion to approve this amended resolution and send it on to the county board. Motion by Mr. Buckholz. Second by Mr. Schleter. Approving the Municode update resolution and sending on to the full county board for approval. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Lynn will add that to the. Okay. All right. Mr. Markren, 2023 budget update, sir.
We go through it all again.
No, I think everyone was here, correct?
I think so.
We were all here. It was excellent, by the way.
You did a good job.
Yeah, very doable. The only concern I have, guys, if what if some things come up at the county board in November and we give him 24 hours to try to find the answer? That's concerning to me, Andy. Because it happened in years past.
But it should be concerning because it can happen, but let's assume it won't.
I don't have a way to prevent that or.
Looks like it happened last year, about $17,000 was that.
Yeah.
Right.
After the,
So I'm gonna ask in this committee to look at if the motion's made to amend the budget that these two provide to us, that they come up with a funding source and whatever you would need, Mike, to make it happen. Give you a directive other than you scrambling to try to find it. And then trying to get approval to change everything. Andy, you want to comment on that? Because they'll make motions there to change the budget and not identify a funding source or what they're gonna take it from.
That, to me, that would be as the chair or as that would be a discussion point for the board. I would recommend that you make that a discussion point when somebody makes that motion and there's a second and it's on the floor.
Yeah.
Somebody should ask where.
That's.
Yeah, I will
that should be
ask.
Part of their motion.
Yeah.
Right, I agree.
And the default might just be, I want to pull more out of the general fund to do it. But that should be part of it. Before, when the motion is approved, or that should be part of the motion.
Yep.
Directing where the source of the funds.
I
We've
agree.
done that before. So. Mr. Slender says, I know I missed them days.
Okay, is there anything, I know we've got the public hearing coming up. Mr. Markren, correct?
correct, yep.
And we've got it scheduled right before our county board,
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Is that enough time for you? I think you did an excellent job presenting to us. Can you do that for the public?
And pretty much have the same format for the
Good.
public hearing.
Because I think it is important that the public hear that and see that so they can make an informed decision or advise comments.
Hopefully, Mr. Chairman, they can make all the decisions that they want to change in the budget at that time.
Yes,
You know, but that don't always happen, but that's where it should happen,
Yeah.
not at the regular board meeting to approve the budget.
so can you do that in 20 minutes, 25 minutes, run through what you did with us?
Sure, try.
Okay. That'll leave time for comments and questions for the public. Any other ideas, Mr. Duffy,
No. Sounds great.
Mr. Schluter? Ron?
Well, I'm just thinking about what Mr. Buckles just said. You have the public hearing, that's basic for the public to tell the board and administration, you know, this is what I see. And then the public hearing ends. And then we go into the board meeting and at the board meeting, when we get the budget, that's when the board can choose to pick and choose if we wish. But not at the public hearing.
No, not.
Okay, I just want to
Yeah.
make sure it's clear.
I think
We don't
No,
comment on
public
public hearing.
hearing.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I think on the agenda next week is a public hearing. We should have an agenda item for the board to discuss the budget.
Well, when we
Oh,
have the
yes.
budget, I assume that's what it'll be.
And we won't make it go through the whole thing again, Mike, but we'll just. Well, we should, yeah. The board should have a crack at it.
And
Yeah.
probably have that early in the agenda in case, my thoughts, in case some of the public want to know if we're going to change anything or not. If they're there, they had the public hearing, if we have it early in the agenda, if we choose to change or not change things, they know that if they wish to leave, the budget's done. Just a thought. But you decide that when you put the agenda together, but that's what I would.
So
say.
do you, Andy, do you need, you or Mike need any action on this at our level today?
Not that I know.
You get, okay. We have the process of the public hearing. Okay. Great. did Municode, we did budget update. Are you okay for time, Mr. Slender? Otherwise I'll do the county administrator's report. Sir,
Sure.
He's paid by the hour, doesn't it?
Not as much work on our corp council this last month. We've got a lot of those things somewhat put to bed. As well as the HR issues we were dealing with have been resolved. Courthouse renovation, the full update was in the public works agenda. Public works document, but just to let you know, our contingency fund currently is at 229,057. So it's down about 160,000 from where we started. We say that most of the contingency contingency issues come up from the time you break ground until you get the building enclosed. So we're hoping that is true. I couldn't make it to the update yesterday, but Mr. Kinsley, can you talk a little bit about what you said last night?
Yeah, they had this good discussion yesterday, and the main thing out of the whole thing is they intend to have the building completely enclosed by the middle of November. There's little things that come up all the time. They communicate about when they have these meetings, and I think that's a good thing. One of the things was the drains off the roof they were talking about yesterday, but they are able to get it worked out. So some people have asked about tours. They'll certainly give you a tour if you wish. They like to keep the groups down small, 4 or 5 people. And I said that maybe the county board, after the whole building is enclosed, maybe we could get a tour that time, so we're not bothering them while they're working.
Okay.
Good.
They send us emails all the time with pictures of their construction going forward. That's kind of interesting to look at that. And that's what they talk about at the meetings also. So they're making good progress, I think.
And
so
yeah,
enclosed by the middle of November, right? And our contingency fund is hanging in there.
hanging in there.
No major concerns with the takedown of the old veteran service building or nothing. We didn't find any surprises.
Nope, there was no surprises there. I mean, outside of the contingency is the dollars we needed to spend for the owner's responsibilities. That was like relocating lines coming in or electric lines.
Yep.
And the furniture fixtures that are going to the building and the IT that will go in there. So we've got, there were some things over budget there. The relocations, but the IT items and the furniture and fixtures are all within budget now. So we're hanging in there on those items as well. I think the other delay is we had hoped to have one layer of blacktop down in this parking lot over here. That's not gonna happen now until spring. Which is fine. It's probably better for the blacktop.
Sure.
One thing, I mean, we've gone around a little bit the last month on some different options for the parking lot. It's gonna stay as designed. The cost to change were just too much, I think. But it is a concerning because I think people are gonna be surprised when they realize how much tighter that parking lot's gonna be. Just because the building is moving out in that direction and the sidewalk or the parking is coming in from the street. It's almost like an extra. Right now you park up against the sidewalk, there's like an extra buffer there now, so we're losing 7 feet there as well.
Okay.
So. And that's, I told the Public Works Committee, the contingency fund is there to kind of provide some cushion for things that are unknown, but really. I would say it's the contractor's contingency fund. You know, there's some pretty little things that they have to adjust because either things weren't thought of in the design or they're left out or the wall isn't where it was supposed to be during construction. So that's not a lot. I mean, all of our changes that we asked for were primarily at the start, like taking out the generator or swapping out the siding, things like that. A lot of the things now are just kind of surprises during construction and they're making those changes and most often it costs. It doesn't put money into the contingency, it takes it out.
Sure. But both you two can say that we're on time and on budget. Agree?
I'll say that today.
Say that today. Okay, good. Good. Well, it's concerning to me and to this group that we have all these prisoners that we're housing outside the county and we have to get them back for court and all those costs. And we've built a second courtroom now, and are we going to utilize it to its capacity? Because they're in Barron or somewhere else.
Well, in theory, you know, people might disagree, but having the second courtroom up and running will help us on the jail side. Because hopefully people will move through the judicial process quicker.
Yep, that more effective, I agree, and efficient. Okay, does that conclude your report, Mr. Alvarado? Do you have
No,
more?
Just the building, sorry.
Okay,
Just a couple of things, covered health insurance. I have initiated a conversation with department heads and we'll be talking further about, still looking at how to make, working for the county attractive. So I mean, compensation is one thing, health insurance is another thing. Looking a little bit at our other benefits like, vacation and sick leave. And initiate a conversation on converting to PTO. So we're throwing out a proposal for that to see what what the workforce feels about going to PTO. And then also improving our safety program. I think highway has a pretty strong safety program, but I think we're kind of lacking in some other areas. So that's been kind of on the back burner, but bringing that forward to make sure our employees have treating on bloodborne pathogens, or even we have AEDs in the building, but how many people actually know how to use the AED off the wall? So CPR, first aid, things like that. With those maintenance. CJCC, I think it's noteworthy that we're trying to make CJCC a little more worthwhile, I guess in my opinion. So
robust.
yeah, that's a good word. That's a great word, robust. So we have voting members. I think we need to use CJCC to bridge some of the operations. So we're gonna bring some health and human services staff into those meetings we talk about mental health or public health or juvenile justice. They have not been a part of CJCC. So this conversation this week was about keeping our voting members at a number that we can maintain, but adding in some expectations for county staff to be a part of that are out there now. And then also using it for, we're supposed to have, based on the state Supreme Court's directive, every county should have a courthouse security committee, putting that with CJCC. I'll talk to the judge about that. And then related to that, the TAG grant, the Treatment Alternatives Grant, we've been informed, or we have a tentative award, almost double of what we received last year. So we'll be able to fully staff up the diversion and the drug court. So that's where that gets reported to as CJCC. So we see more activity there, which leads into something I brought up to Public Works last night, is that we contract with Justice Point for our diversion program, and also the pretrial and now the drug courts. So they'll be adding staff, and part of our agreement with them is to provide them office space. They're on the other side of this wall in a little cubby hole. It's more or less a closet. So we're gonna need to find them additional office space. So like Warren Public Works, that probably gonna ruffle some feathers in the building by shuffling some offices around. But they gave me the go ahead to do that.
Good.
Oh, yeah. I asked permission first. So I was going ahead and do it. The opioid settlement has also been discussed at CJCC, and Public Health laid out some of their findings yesterday. Talking to other counties, there's still not a rush. We're aren't any deadlines to start allocating the money, but I think by the end of the year, we'll have a good direction there. Oasis building, you've heard that.
Wait, before you leave that, Andy, how much money have we received from opioid already?
We received 21,161 already, and I've been told to expect another payment of that same size before the end of the year. And also before the end of the year, I expect we'll hear from WCA that either we're in or out on securitization of the money.
Yeah.
Of taking a large chunk of it in right away, but you also, it's like a lottery, you take an upfront payment, but you lose part of your settlement.
Right.
So I think what I'm hearing from CJCC and other discussions is that might be better off just taking the payments over the next
20 years or something?
16 years.
16 years. What is the total amount we might be receiving? 400 something?
Yeah,
Like,
it's
you
like
know,
400 and something.
yeah,
That sounds right.
over 16 years.
Yep.
Did CJCC come up with any ideas to use the money?
Yeah, they heard some of them. Well, I think yesterday, not specific ideas, but they observed it on mental health and a facility for treatment or aftercare.
But that's not in our 23 budget, right, Mike?
No, all the money is put into a separate fund, but it's not been budgeted.
Okay.
That's the nuts and bolts of what I have here.
Do we have enough bracelets there for a drug program on?
Electronic monitoring.
Yeah.
Interesting discussion. That's one of the things we've discussed with part of the jail staffing is to utilize bracelets more. So we contract with Justice Point to do the electronic monitoring. But they can only put bracelets on people who either, have court approval to be released. And also that the other gatekeeper is the sheriff. And they've taken a pretty conservative approach to who's put on bracelets. The sheriff seems like he's opening up to putting more on. It is, I brought back that to the sheriff as far as our staffing. Almost every county is struggling with jail staffing. But there are a couple counties where they decided, the sheriff agreed to put everybody that has Huber privileges on a bracelet and shut down their Huber doors. A little more-
If these prisoners are dangerous, that you can consider as the candidate.
Yeah, I think the concern always is that you put somebody on a bracelet and something happens.
Yeah.
Then you lose a lot of credibility in the community with that program.
But I think it may be the women, since we aren't housing them here, if we get them on bracelets, it's gonna save us big dollars.
I think that's an option we need to look at and keep pushing the sheriff.
Yeah, how do
forward.
we push for that though? I mean. A lot of us sit here, I know,
Part of the judge, part
Mr.
of the sheriff.
Buckholz, does that come through public safety or do you guys look at that? The jail population and the use of bracelets?
We go to the jail population, but not the use of bracelets. So. But that's a good idea.
I think it's definitely.
There's
Just as an aside too, from the prior experience and what we've been told here too, we were worried about housing all the females outside the county. Because not all the females, but some of the females are some of the worst prisoners. And they're the most,
Are they dangerous or just nasty?
well,
Wait, let's not go there.
I'm not going.
Yeah, don't go there.
Yeah. That's because the outside jails don't have to accept everybody we send them. They can pick and choose.
Yeah.
Which ones they'll
Oh, I
take.
see.
Barron County is one to take all of them.
I think another problem is probation holds. A lot of people on probation holds, if we get those dudes to use the bracelet while we're on hold.
Yeah, and bracelets from a financial standpoint are good because generally who's ever on the bracelet pays all the cost of being on the bracelet.
Well, maybe that's something we want to put on public safety agenda so we can discuss it.
Great point. I agree, Mr.
Yeah.
Buckholz.
So,
Yeah. Okay, anything come up on the carbon credits? I asked Mike, they're not in the 23 budget. No, so,
We had a long closed session conversation at committee yesterday. We're in the middle of negotiating the contract,
oh, okay,
so we just don't have the negotiation done.
got it. Good point. Anything else, Andy? Oh, Dale, I'm sorry, yep.
Use because of prisoners have to pay for the county and just curious, what was the reason for the switch?
I don't know the reason for the switch. I know ideally we try to have them all in one spot though. And Barron County has enough capacity to house.
I guess cheaper down there. I think
The rate looks pretty good. I believe it's $43 a day.
Maybe it's cheaper than having them here.
Yeah. I think it almost is.
Well, it's the transportation too, guys getting back here.
Then we get rid of the jail staff.
Well, we can do it on Zoom, so you have it too,
Well, then why do we build that building?
because.
All right, anything else, Randy?
Got it. I didn't have anything else pressing on mind, but I guess I just want to ask Mr. Thunder. We're here to,
Well, we're gonna offer him, I think you're here for public comment, right, sir?
So.
Yeah. So I'm gonna-
Other matters for discussion only, or
otherwise I was just gonna touch on some of the tribal things that are ongoing.
Sure.
Let's
Do
go
that.
out to.
Do that in your report, yep.
All right, the tribal law enforcement grant, we did notify the state that we didn't want that money to leave Sawyer County, but that we were okay with the tribe getting the money, and I haven't been able to follow up on the ins and outs of that, but
Looks like, yep,
so,
we're gonna get an email from the state and I think that's how we're gonna apply for it.
okay, so that's the one where there's been some negotiation over the years, but
Yeah.
talking with the sheriff, we're good. Just
Yeah.
sign that over. The 161 agreement for out of home placements for children. I think that's moving again. Mr. Slender made some comments on human services and as did the LCO director, so. The attorneys have been handling that, so we'll make sure to keep that moving. And then the child support MOU is also still moving. We had another meeting this week between the DCF, the attorneys and staff, and still have a couple items to iron out or get over or get around. I think that'll be back for the public safety meeting next month.
And we'll have that all updated, right?
Yes,
Okay.
I think we've straightened out, there was some issues. The MOU hadn't been updated in a while. There was ordinance change at LCO that needed to be incorporated during the course of that. Something what wasn't part of that was the transfer of cases. Apparently there hadn't been transfers in a while, so I think we communicated with the judge, or there was communication there as to how those cases need to be transferred to the paperwork, and that'll, I hope they improve that process.
Okay, so you're the 161 agreement and that's child support MOU, you're continuing to work on.
Yeah, yeah, I wasn't aware of the 161 until I got the email here a couple weeks ago, so it's just good to know that these things need to get done so you can keep them moving. Not, it seemed like they move and then they sit on one side of the fence or the other, and
So who at the tribe is your contact person for, you meet with?
on the MOU, I've talked to Monica,
Okay,
which is, or, yeah.
she's the child support attorney.
Yeah, and then the 161, I have not gotten to know that. But Paul has talked to, I didn't catch her name, the director of.
To Bissell?
Listen.
Yeah, appreciate all that update. So board or committee have any questions for Andy on his update?
The ATV ones, how was that?
That last night, they took public comment last night. I thought that went well. I mean, the room was full, but nobody duplicated their comments. So now the ordinance did not. Basically, I think it's back to Gary's hands to incorporate some of his comments and bring it back next month.
Okay.
There was I think Gary needs to follow up with, we got comments from the town, we got comments from the Trail Alliance. We didn't have any comments back from LCO. So Brian encouraged him to reach back out to get those comments, and then they'll come back next month. But the committee did approve, there's 3 route requests for opening up county roads to ATV, and they approved all 3 of their requests.
Okay, and Brian Bissonette?
How about Spider Lake? Are they involved in the program or are they in their own?
Though for the ATVs, this is strictly about county roads, the lettered roads. So I don't know if Spider Lake's somebody that got back to Gary on the county ordinance. But this is just about opening up county roads. And really, for the most part, it doesn't change the process we already had. It just takes it from being out of a resolution into an ordinance form. Still requires still has the Trail Alliance initiating and submitting them and getting town board approval or LCO approval.
Right. And is it, if the town board doesn't approve, then it doesn't even come to the county? Is it true?
That's correct.
Some people want that changed, some don't.
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of that. I want the town to have their say.
Let me just restate before I get myself in trouble. The way the ordinance reads right now is it has LCO. It has town board has to approve it, but it's submitted to LCO, but does not have that LCO has to approve it.
Got it. Anything else for Andy?
Well, the town should have to say so. A lot of them lettered roads go through their township.
Sure.
That's the way I want.
And I think that's what the tribe is asking too, because a lot of those lettered roads go through the reservation. Same point, Ron.
Yeah.
Okay, if not, I'm gonna revert back to public comment because I know we have an individual here who just missed us.
Depends
No,
on what you're gonna say.
I would rather be public
Public
comment.
comment restricts your, and also restricts the ability of the board members to get engaged.
Yeah.
You're gonna want to probably engage, say. I never met
Well, it's
Andy,
not-
so Andy's definitely gonna want to hear what I have to say.
Put under correspondence reports and conferences is
So
just,
we took out discussion only because we got in trouble with that. I guess I'm gonna give you public comment, sir. You can
Shit, 3
state your
minutes?
name and address and
Do I
you
have to
can,
sign up 3 times then or 4 times?
no, I
4 separate issues?
I know you had called and wanted to come, so I'm allowing you
All right,
public
so
comment now, sir.
for the record, Jim Schlender, I'm here on behalf of the Lakota tribe, serving the capacity as the Attorney General. I've been directed or asked by the council to come to the county board to highlight some concerns that the tribe is having in terms of the relationship with the county, in terms of communication between various aspects and what's your last name?
Alvarado,
Alvarado?
Alvarado.
Alvarado. So Mr. Alvarado is the county administrator. I haven't had the opportunity to meet him yet. Mine is probably the +1 to his comments in terms of his report to the county board. There's 4 issues of concerns the tribe has that we need to probably open up a dialogue so that the tribe and the county can alleviate either the concerns, the frustrations, or the misinformation and miscommunication that's arising. So there's 4 issues. First one is the 161 agreement. 161 is state legislation that was passed in 1983, which deals with out-of-home placement for children under Child Protective Services. Sawyer County's 161 agreement with LCO has morphed into a comprehensive matrix of kind of services between or exchange of information between Child Protective Services under the Health and Human Services Division and Indian Child Welfare Department. And the most recent iteration of this 161 agreement is kind of like a Frankenstein. It's a lot of stilted language that makes it difficult for the tribe to comply and kind of alleviates the county of any type of responsibility. And I was asked to come and I reported to the Health and Human Services what the tribe's concern was. A public comment limited me to 3 minutes, and I'm almost positive that no one was able to pick up the nuances of what was going on. So that the 161 agreement.
So we can move on to those other 3, Jim, but maybe you could get on the Health and Human Services Board agenda
I can add
and
that.
really discuss
Well,
that for.
I mean,
further.
it's addressed, right? So here's the deal, right? So the tribe is not necessarily a stakeholder. The tribe is, I'm here as an effort of good faith to reach out to the county board. Now, if the county board wants to put me on public comment and put me on 3-minute bursts of however you want to do that, that's up to you, but the
Well,
county,
until we get you on the agenda, I have to do it that way.
well, I'm just saying
Okay.
that. So the first one is, if the tribe doesn't sign the 161 agreement, if the county doesn't do that, then you guys are in breach, and then we're going to be jeopardizing federal dollars that's come through for reimbursement. So we're 9 months past on that. Second one is the cooperative law enforcement agreement.
Okay.
Now, the cooperative law enforcement agreement, there's never really been any effort on part of the county or the tribe to really discuss what was cooperation. And so right now, the tribe is in position to deny that. And that's going to put some consternation and pressure on both the state government, the tribal government, and the county government in terms of trying to facilitate what that agreement is, because that comes from tribal gaming compact dollars. All right. The third thing is the memorandum that's supposed to be for child support. A memorandum is supposed to be a memorandum of understanding. It doesn't give one party authority or control over the other. And so the conversation that Mr. Alvarado made reference to, the attorney for the county, I don't know if it's your corporate counsel or if it was just for child support, made representations that really actually infuriated the tribe. And it was kind of an insult towards tribal sovereignty. And so the tribe is considering doing what's known as writ of mandamus, which is an action to file in circuit court that would mandate a public official to carry out the duties of their office. And so we need the MOU to help articulate, but we don't require an MOU. And so if we have the county interfering with tribal members' ability to have cases heard in tribal court, you're interfering with the judicial process and you're probably going to end up in court. So I'm just saying, and then the last one is the ATV portion. And so we're talking about the lettered roads, but the lettered roads are not, those are right of ways. So the road itself may belong to the county or to the state or to whoever else. But the fact that they exist on road that's within the tribe's jurisdiction, the right of way needs to be clarified to see if the purposes of those right of ways are being met and if there's a violation. And if there is a violation, then we're probably going to end up in court. So I'm doing this as a good faith gesture. Now, if you guys are going to lock me down to a 3-minute response, then I'm going to go back and say that the county was unresponsive to my offers and that I'll just be filing actions in circuit court.
Well, until we get you on the agendas of the committees of jurisdiction, Mr. Schleiner, we will address these.
I'm just saying, so I'll see what I can do about the next couple county board meeting, but otherwise I'm gonna be filing actions, so. I mean, these
Okay.
are pressing matters that have been going on. The cooperative law enforcement agreement's been in place for like last 20 years. The 161 agreement's been in place since 1983. The MOU that was supposed to have been worked out has been in place since 2012. I mean, these are matters that have been decades in standing. I mean, if you guys don't want to wait, absolutely wait, and now I'll get a chance to talk to your attorneys.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any
We're out of public comment. Mr. Alvarado.
Then I guess my comment is,
To this committee, not to public comment.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how to phrase it.
Yeah.
With somebody, you asked the question who my contact was,
Yes,
the child support.
yes.
I think there's somehow we're missing communication. If I could get, some direction on who to work with the tribe. I think that would speed some of these things up. because-
We could get you that.
And there was an issue on the MOU discussion and it's our corp counsel working on our behalf. And I'm not even say, he tried to apologize for the comments, and I wouldn't even say that in the middle of this is DCF, and they took those comments in a direction that I was surprised with. But, in good faith, we want to work out all these agreements. But somehow, place on the line, there's some communication issues that probably just need to be cleaned up and we can move it ahead.
I agree.
Okay. All right, any future agenda items?
Yeah,
Could we, just a second, Ron, can we put some of these issues in your report? So you report to us on how we're moving through these?
Yeah, specific to the ones we just talked about, like I made
Yes.
sure now that we had the tribal law enforcement one on the public safety agenda. The 161 was on, I put them on the committee agendas, so the committees are aware. The 161 was brought up with Health and Human Services. The MOU child support was on public safety, because, and I think.
Can we continue on those committee agendas with those? please?
Yeah, because I requested
Yeah.
that Monica be put back on the agenda.
Yeah,
Okay. Thanks, Jim.
yeah,
Ron,
all of them
any-
were put on for future agenda items.
Good on those committees. Mr. Kinsley.
under correspondence, when you get to there, I'll speak.
Oh, okay. All right, took care of that. Number 19, correspondence reports from conferences and meetings.
So I'll tell this committee last night at Public Works, it was brought up about the ordinance and when the ordinance crosses the reservation. And what I understood Gary Gephardt, the highway commissioner, to say is he's reached out twice to make contact and has got nothing back. And Brian Bissonnette was nice enough to say that he'll make the contact and he would make the contact this morning. So we could get answers back to the highway commissioner, Mr. Gephardt,
Right.
if that helps.
Got it.
So we met
Okay.
with Town of Hayward, we met with Bass Lake, we can't find whoever's in charge of Hunter, Town of Hunter. Town of
Lower
Blue
Mills.
Lake, and Sand Lake. And so we've actually made modifications to the ATV ordinance that is respective of what the townships have asked. But we're trying to, we have a final ordinance code that's been circulated. We just haven't had a chance to meet with Public Works, and I didn't know about the Public Works meeting last night, otherwise I came in and
Okay.
participated.
Thank you.
So I'm telling the committee that.
And I
All right.
heard it echo. I didn't hear it from you directly. I heard it echo.
Thank you, Mr. Slender. Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Just
sir.
one other issue I've been trying to follow up on, I'll throw it into the air as well. So there was the appeals court decision recently reflecting tribal lands that have been privately owned and then came back to be tribally owned.
Yeah.
They're tax exempt.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I'm trying to follow up on to find out how much of that land exists in Sawyer County and what potential tax impact that's gonna have.
Yes,
And so I just want to.
that's an excellent future agenda item.
Yep.
Yep.
Aware of that.
Okay, any other correspondence, reports, meetings? If not, we're adjourned. Thank you,
But don't
everyone.
leave because you have a signature to collect. And Rita,